Hey, how y'all doing? This is Jastur, and welcome to Vampire The Masquerade Bloodlines. And also welcome to my first Let's Play. I wanted to pick a game that I've already played through and that I thoroughly enjoyed playing. It's been a few years since I played through this, so I'm pretty excited to experience it again, and I hope you will join me reliving this atmospheric and macabre game. My history with this game and series even predates its release, but we'll get into that as we go. Alright, let's get to it. Okay, and I think just for the sake of it, why not go ahead and answer the series of questions. And so when it says the type of vampire you'd like to play and allow the game to create your character. So the type of vampire will most likely, will be the different types of clans. Alright. And play it safe. Go male. While in a club, you spot your ex-roommate who skipped out after taking your stuff and leaving you with a sack of bills. He looks dead drunk. Do you grab him by the head and repeatedly bash his face into the bar? Or 2, call the cops. See you in court, buddy. Don't know what calling the cops to do at that particular time. Why not? A bouncer at the beginning of an exclusive nightclub won't let you inside to party with all the beautiful people. Do you convince him to work for that director? You know who. You'll bring him in with you the next time. Hide out by the back exit, wait for someone to leave, and slip in undetected. Bribe him. Everyone has got their price, and it's worth to get to know the kind of people inside. Alright, hide out by the back exit, wait for someone to leave, and then slip in undetected. Alright, you're heading down to meet with some Nosferatu in the alley behind that Chinese restaurant. He has some valuable information to sell. You're not expecting any trouble, but you can never be too careful, do you? Take no weapons, that might spook your contact, trusting in your supernatural strength to handle any problems. 2, hide a blackjack in your coat to give you a little edge. Or 3, jam a Smith & Wesson into your waistband just to be sure. I'm gonna go with 3. Alright, you are in a hospital looking for the doctor who's late on his blood payments. A nurse steps in front of you and says, "You can't go in there. It's restricted to medical staff only." Do you toss her aside like a rag doll and keep going? Show her your fangs and see her fleeing in the fear of life? Toss her aside. You're in an all-night pawn shop, feeling the need for some protection, but very low on cash. You can only afford to purchase one item. Is it a book entitled Kickboxing in 10 Easy Lessons? A well-worn baseball bat? A cheap Saturday night special? Gotta go with the Saturday night special. The world's a cruel and unforgiving place, but you've gotten by so far. Why? What makes you so different? I live alone, don't need others, just me, my dog, to hell with the rest. Stay out of sight and the world even know you were there. I feel that if I pick number 2, it might just predispose me to picking Nosferatu. I'll go with number 1. You've been embraced by the Gangrel clan, sometimes called nomads, loners, and introverts. The Gangrels spurn the trappings of civilization and prefer to roam the wilds in solitude. Known for having an uncanny connection with the beast within. Some learn to power to shapeshift. Okay. Your vampire's attributes and abilities have been determined and entered into its character sheet, which you will see next. After your tour of the character sheet, you may make changes to the character or simply play it as is. Okay. And it basically here just explains your attributes and your abilities and how they're broken up into physical, social, mental, talents, skills, and knowledges. Okay. And it just kind of explains more of, here just explains Gangrel and how they are set up. So for the strongest attribute will be physical. They are physical. They're more a physical clan. So you get 2 points, 1 point to spend in mental, and no points to spend in social. Gangrel's and social is Gangrel's weakest attribute. As for abilities, being Gangrel gives you advantage on the warrior skills, which you have 3 points to spend. You only have you have only 3 average abilities and talents, 2 points, and are weak in knowledges, so I get 1 point. And these are the feats. The feats, are derived from adding an attribute and an ability. An example would be the feat of lockpicking, which is derived from the attribute of dexterity and the ability of security. Hovering your mouse pointer over a feat will highlight the attribute and ability upon which it's dependent. So, if I was curious what unarmed as mostly, which is, derived from, it'll tell me. Something for lockpicking, sneaking, hacking, and so forth. You are a member of the Gangrel clan, closest of all vampires to their inner nature. Gangrels have a keen understanding of the beast in their souls and prefer to spend their nights in communion with the animals whom they so emulate. Their disciplines are animalism, fortitude, and protean. I've been playing Vampire the Masquerade for years. Now, obviously not just Bloodlines, but the pen and paper game. And I still don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. Protean. Let's hit okay. This is your humanity. 7 is the norm, 10 is saintly, and the lower you go, the closer to the beast you become. Also, the lower your humanity, the greater your chances of frenzying. When a vampire goes into a frenzy, he loses all control and attacks all things around him. However, as you gain experience, you can spend experience points to increase your humanity. Okay, this is where your masquerade violations are displayed. The masquerade is a code by which many vampires unlive. Anytime a vampire is seen doing a supernatural act by a mortal, it is considered a masquerade violation. You have 5 chances, and each strike will have repercussions. If you commit 5 masquerade violations, you will be dealt with harshly. This is where all the information on all things are hovering over is displayed. Almost done. Basically self-explanatory. Do I want the auto level on or off? I'm going to have it off. Okay, now I'm ready to set up my character how I see fit with the points available. Actually, no, it's already set up the way it is. I kind of known that if I was going to answer the questions, it would either give me Gangrel or Nosferatu. But I've already beaten the game as a Gangrel in the past, and it's already set up already. So I just kind of did the questions for fun and just to show you what those questions would be. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel. And I'm going to pick it how I want. So I just wanted to kind of show you a little bit of one way to set up your character. Yes, new game. Go directly to the character sheet and set your character's clan, attributes, and abilities yourself. Alright, so we learned a little bit more about the Gangrel. So here's a little bit more information on them. Alright, so we'll go with Bruja. Bruja are passionate idealists and rebels, more likely to fight for their rights than write protest songs. In life, most Bruja sought social change, and in undeath, most clan members commonly seek the creation of a vampiric utopia. As militant radicals, they are renowned for their combat skills, but are also more likely to frenzy due to their hot-bloodedness, so to speak. They receive a +1 to their unarmed feat, but are penalized with a -2 to all frenzy checks due to their zealous natures. And as we progress through the game, we'll learn a little bit more about frenzy, but just a little background. Frenzy is kind of relating to what it was talking about the gangrel, which is the beast within. All kindred, or as vampires, kindred is their word. Each of them all have the beast within, and a lot of them spend their unlife, so to speak, to quelling that, keeping it in check. And then frenzy is when this kind of beast appears, comes out, you kind of lose all control. But in terms of the actual video game itself, frenzy will most likely happen when our humanity gets low, and I'm not quite sure, but I think when we get low on blood as well. I'm not sure if they've implemented that mechanic, but whatever. We'll find out. And Malkavian. Malkavians are known as lunatics because of their ability to hear voices of insight and subject others to their insanity through their discipline, dementation. The world appears much different to the Malkavian than it does to the sane clans, though the extent of Malkavian's madness depends on the individual. A blessing and a curse. And Malkavian's insanity will help or hinder them, depending on how much they struggle against their nature. Malkavians start with a +2 to bonus to inspection. I've played through as a Malkavian, and they are incredibly fun, but we'll move on for the time being. Nosferatu. Hideous, skulking, and powerful. Even in a world of monsters, the Nosferatu stand out. They embrace twists and deforms their physical features, forcing them to seek sanctuary underground. Nosferatus are a master of the shadows. Due to their curse, Nosferatu has a seduction of 0 and can never raise it higher, and they hide their existence from common humans. Having shared the darkness with vermin for so long, vampires of Clan Nosferatu are able to draw extra nourishment from rats. Definitely playing Nosferatu has a bit of a disadvantage because it's true. Mortals can't actually see you, and it is an actual mechanic. If you are out walking above ground without using their discipline, it'll actually mark off as a masquerade violation. So, yeah. Toreadors. Toreador picture themselves as artistes and visionaries, and they value the high society mentality that the Camarilla reinforces. Of all clans, the Toreador are the most connected to the mortal world through arts and entertainment. Toreador are the beautiful creatures, svelte and seductive, and more effortlessly through the society of the living. And move almost effortlessly through the society of the living. The Toreador's empathy is both a gift and a burden. All humanity shifts are doubled. So the Toreador clans are obviously the artists, but they are the clan that is most connected with the mortal world still. And a lot of them can even have normal professions, such as an artist or an actor or a musician or so on and so forth. Alright, Tremere. Blood sorcerers born from mystic rituals and diablerie. The Tremere are the least trusted of the Camarilla clans. The Tremere used to transform from living mages into undying monsters, stripped them of their magic arts. To compensate, the vampires of Clan Tremere developed thaumaturgy, the powerful discipline of blood magic. The clan guards its secrets jealously and are the only kindred to wield this powerful discipline. The pursuit of arcane knowledge comes before all else, and the reliance upon it has weakened the bloodline. Tremere can raise no physical attributes above 4 points. Okay, so they are they're basically the mages of the vampires in a way. Alright, Ventru. Truly the upper echelons of society. The Ventru are seen as the honorable and the virtuous leaders of the Camarilla. They wholeheartedly support the Masquerade influencing the mortal and undead worlds to help them maintain the masquerade as well as garner support for themselves. Clan Ventru is an exclusive and powerful gathering of immortals, and even the lowliest initiate of Clan Ventru can expect special treatment in kindred society. This regal bloodline, however, gains no nourishment from the low-born and the thin-blooded. Ventru gain no blood from feeding on animals. Feeding on low-life humans, prostitutes, and the homeless can cause the Ventru to vomit. Okay, so we just went through all the clans, and during the little bios, obviously a lot of terms and stuff like that you might not understand, and obviously doesn't explain too much. But as we progress through the game, we'll go over all of those things and experience some of those things. Now for the actual clan. I've always really enjoyed Tremere, but I have already played through the game as them. I haven't played Toreador all that much. Bruja is always fun. I've always loved that stance. You know what? I'll go with Toreador, Clan of the Rose Clan. Alright, so history is going through here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but history is basically just a little short bio of your character, of who they were before they embraced, before they were a vampire. You believe in collecting, bargaining to get justice for working families, and if that fails, there's collective wrench beatings. Swap the priority of your attributes to physical, social, mental. Ooh, I do like the physical being the primary. Ex-SWAT. While in the police force, you developed quite a skill with firearms. You start with a bonus to the firearms skill. However, you quit the forces after receiving a crippling injury while in the line of duty. Your dexterity cannot be raised above 1. Beautiful monster. You are ruled by your passions, and some of them ain't pretty. People find you absolutely mesmerizing, but you are always too self-absorbed to bother with normal human repartee. Your presence effects last longer than other Toreador, but you can never raise wits above 3 and are more likely to frenzy when things aren't going your way. And then obviously presence is one of the disciplines, one of the spells, as you could say, that the Toreadors receive, but I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to pick Teamster. Alright, next. So here we have set up the character sheet. So, in total, I can spend 3 in my attributes. But also, based upon my history, it goes my primary, secondary, tertiary. But I don't have any points of mental. I can only spend between 2 in physical and 1 in social. So I'm going to put it in strength. And as you can see on the right, strength affects your unarmed and your melee. And dexterity is lockpicking and sneaking. Definitely going to be doing a lot of that. Social, charisma. And down the bottom there you can see what explains what charisma is. But obviously the biggest one would be on the right. It explains how it affects your feats. So there's charisma, which gives me persuasion, manipulation, which gives me to haggle, and appearance, which is seduction. I'm going to go with charisma for persuasion. So we get down to the abilities, and it's set up the same way. Primary, secondary, tertiary. 3 for the talents, 2 for knowledges, 1 for skills. So we'll go to the talents. Brawl, which gives me my unarmed. Dodge, which is for defense. Intimidation, which is intimidate. Subterfuge, which is seduction. So I might as well put 1 in brawl, 1 in dodge, and let's go intimidation. And abilities, skills, firearms, melee, security, and stealth. Alright, what do I want to put that 1 point in to start with? Ooh. It's hard to choose to just one. I'm also trying to think of like the beginning of the game and what will be most beneficial to me. Well, I already have a 2 in lockpicking and a 2 in there. Melee, firearms, I only have a 1. Melee, I have 2, so you know what? Put it in firearms. And knowledge is computer, will give me plus to hacking. Finance, haggle, investigation, inspection. Now, and how inspection works in the game mechanic, as I recall, certain items and stuff like that they can actually find and pick up. I believe they'll just glow a little bit lighter, so you'll be able to notice them easier, as far as I recall. And scholarship is research, which I believe research acts as like the common identifying skill for items to be identified. And persuasion for scholarship. Okay, that's interesting. Your character's ability to gather information, debate, and learn new skills. Scholarship will increase your research and persuasion feats. You know what? I'm going to go with computer. And for disciplines. So, all clans, majority of them, all have 3 different types of disciplines. Think of them as like 3 different groups. So, aspects is your mental discipline. And for each point, you unlock a new spell. And you can see it here on the bottom and how they level up. So, for example, level 1 adds 1 point to wits, reveals the auras of the living and undead within a short distance, lasts 20 seconds per activation. Number 2 is add 1 point to wits and 1 point to perception, reveals the auras of all living and undead within a modest distance, and then so on and so forth. But it's just doing all of the auras and increasing your points and wits. So I'm not going to put my first point into aspects. Celerity. Character moves with a level 2 speed enhancement. Costs 1 blood point per activation. Now when it says costs 1 blood point, think of blood as your mana. Basically, it acts kind of that way. And how you replenish your blood? Well, you feed. And not only just on humans or animals, and also you can find blood packs throughout the game as well. But either way. So, celerity affects your speed. And presence. The dread presence of the vampire can strike mortal fear into the hearts of their opponents. Reduce enemies' effectiveness in combat. All levels of presence cost 1 blood per activation. Presence carries no risk of violating the masquerade, which is great. Meaning, I can use these disciplines in front of mortals without them really noticing and breaking the masquerade. I'm going to start in with presence. And they basically act as debuffs in a way. Okay, I think I have all my character. Oh, no, I missed 1 knowledge. Ooh, okay. Why not go into investigation? Auto level is off, so obviously the most important part is my name. And why not? Alright, accept, and here comes the intro.
My fellow kindred, My apologies for disrupting any business or interfering with prior engagements you may have had this evening. It's unfortunate that the affair that gathers us together tonight is a troubling one. We are here because the laws that bind our society, the laws that are the fabric of our existence, have been broken. As Prince, I am within my rights to grant or deny the kindred of this city the privilege of siring. Many of you have come to me seeking permission, and I have endorsed some of these requests. However, the accused that sits before you tonight was not refused permission. Indeed, my permission was never sought at all. They were caught shortly after the embrace of this child. It pains me to announce the sentence, as, up to tonight, I considered the accused a loyal and upstanding member of our organization. But as some of you may know, the penalty for this transgression is death. Know that I am no more adjudicator than I am a servant to the law that governs us all. Let tonight's proceedings serve as a reminder to our community that we must adhere to the code that binds our society, lest we endanger all of our blood. Forgive me. Let the penalty commence. Which leads to the fate of the ill-begotten progeny. Without a sire, most children are doomed to walk the earth never knowing their place, their responsibility, and most importantly, the laws they must obey. Therefore, I have decided that this is bullshit! If Mr. Rodriguez would let me finish, I have decided to let this kindred live. They shall be instructed in the ways of our kind and be granted the same rights. Let no one say I am unsympathetic to the plights and causes of this community. I thank you all for attending these proceedings, and I hope their significance is not lost. Good evening. Your sire, tragic, my apologies. But you see, there is a strict code of conduct that all of us must adhere to if we wish to survive. When anyone breaks these laws, they undermine the well-worn fabric of our centuries-old society. Understand my predicament. Allowing you to live makes me directly responsible for your subsequent behavior. So, what I'm offering is not generosity, but the opportunity to transcend the fate woven by your sire. This is your trial. You will be brought to Santa Monica. There you will meet an agent by the name of Mercurio. He will provide the details of your labor. I've shown you great clemency. Prove it was more than a wasted gesture, fledgling. Don't come back until you do. Good evening.
Alright, so that's quite an intense intro there. Alright, so the beginning here is just the tutorial, but the very beginning of creating the character and explaining and going through everything is quite lengthy, so I'm going to stop it here before we get right into it. Alright, well, thanks for checking out the first part here. So definitely, if you liked the video, like, comment, and of course subscribe, and join me in the next one as we venture off in Vampire the Masquerade.